Aemond Targaryen has gone through a major transition throughout Season 1 of House of the Dragon. We see his personality transform from a quiet boy the others teased into a bold young man who claimed the largest dragon alive the moment she became available. The night he claims Vhagar is the very same night he is confronted by his nephews and fights them off, losing an eye in the process. He says it is a fair price to pay for his dragon, though, but from there on, vengeance simmers in Aemond and drives him to up his game. He trains harder in the yard and becomes a fearsome fighter, even giving Criston Cole a run for his money. When Rhaenyra and her family come to King's Landing in Episode 8, Jace and Luke go out to the training yard where they had spent many hours with their uncles in their youth. There, they see Aemond and Criston facing off, and Aemond is good. The last time Jace and Luke had seen Aemond was 6 years prior, when Luke took Aemond's eye on Driftmark, and Aemond wasn't quite so ferocious as a child. Jace steps before his brother Lucerys, but it makes no matter. Criston compliments Aemond as he wins the round, telling him he's ready to join a tourney, but Aemond tells him,
I don't give a shit about tourneys. Nephews? Have you come to train?
and lays his eye right on Jace and Luke. He knew they were there the entire time, and he's right. He doesn't care about tourneys. He cares about vengeance, and his eye is set on his mark. Aemond's glare is piercing. He doesn't waste words, and he doesn't waste glances either. It's rather intimidating, but when you only have one good eye, you have to make your gaze twice as powerful, and Aemond does not fail to do so. He wears an eye patch, keeping his missing eye covered, until, in episode 10, he removes the eye patch and reveals his newest accessory, a sapphire in place of his missing eye. Book readers were anticipating this glorious moment. Aemond's good eye is bright blue and stares right through wherever his gaze falls. During the Last Supper, he stares away from the table for the most part, or at his brother and sister. Only once Jacaerys stands to give a toast does Aemond also stand, staring his nephew down, and Jace is visibly uncomfortable under his uncle's glare. Whatever he might have been planning to say in retaliation for Aegon's rude words to Baela, Jace rethinks it and compliments his uncles instead. Moments later, when Jace asks Helaena to dance, Aemond looks at Aegon, then watches Helaena dancing with Jacaerys while his fury grows. While watching them, a roast pig is delivered to the table and presented before Aemond. As children, Aegon would join with Rhaenyra's sons to make fun of Aemond, since he had not yet claimed a dragon. They found him the perfect mount, the pink dread. They put fake wings on a sow and presented it to Aemond, laughing at him. It was Lucerys who had requested the roast pig as a throwback to the pink dread and had it sent to his uncle. Kind of a poor joke since, Luke was the one who had taken his eye, so maybe don't pour salt in old wounds, but it happened. Aemond glared right at Luke and stood to toast his nephews who have grown so wise and strong.
Let us drain our cups to these 3 strong boys.
Of course, a fight breaks out as Jace comes forth and punches Aemond for the insult, and it's unclear if Jace knows that Luke had sent the pig over and instigated the whole thing. Aemond is unfazed by the punch and easily knocks Jace over, and Alicent asks him why he would say such a thing. Aemond says his nephews should show pride for their family, as he does, until Uncle Daemon steps forth and puts a stop to the brawl. Obviously, Daemon's reputation precedes him in King's Landing, which certainly Aemond is aware of, and after the whole Vaemond-Velaryon situation in court, Aemond is impressed by Daemon. The two are a reflection of one another, and the epic culmination of their journeys is one of the most exciting scenes that we'll get to watch in House of the Dragon. When Daemon intervenes in the fight, he stares down his nephew to see if he'll face him. Aemond considers it, but his gaze loses its vigor, and he actually looks away, then walks out of the room. Daemon knew this would happen, as an uncle will know these things, but on the other hand, he sees a challenger in Aemond, most likely going all the way back to Aemond's childhood when this foolhardy kid claimed his wife's dragon at her own funeral. Though he is the son of Viserys and Alicent, Daemon recognizes game when he sees it, even in a kid. Aemond has his eye on many things, but Daemon is keeping an eye on Aemond, for sure. Aemond's gaze definitely plays into the belief of the evil eye. The evil eye is a supernatural curse that many cultures around the world believe in, and it is the idea that one can inflict malevolent energy, bad luck, or illness through the power of their gaze, whether intentionally or not. There are amulets and symbols to protect oneself from the evil eye, including beads and talismans called nazar in the design of the blue eye, wearing blue or indigo, or cleaning with blue soap, the hamsa, a symbol of the hand which repels the evil eye, which we'll talk about further, jewelry made of jumbi beads, jet, or blue or green beads, or eye cups, which have the eye symbol, as it is believed people are more susceptible to the evil eye whilst eating or drinking. There are hand gestures, such as the sign of the horn, to drive away the evil eye. Many, many cultures and religions all over the world believe in this. Even briefly getting into this idea, we can see that Aemond already has connections here. Obviously, having only one eye already has us looking here, but also his eye is bright blue, and he has a piercing, vengeful gaze. You don't want his gaze to land on you. Once it does, it seems he really does, in essence, set his sight upon you. Aemond chooses to replace his missing eye with a sapphire, another connection to blue. Does he choose this gem to match his other blue eye? It is rather remarkable that he chooses a sapphire when he could have chosen an emerald for the green of the High Towers, or even a black or red stone for the Targaryens, like another one-eyed character in the world of Ice and Fire, Bloodraven, who replaces his missing eye with a ruby. But Aemond chooses to step outside of the family norms and goes with a bright blue stone, and I think there may be a reason for this. I've talked about Helaena choosing to wear the color blue in another video linked below. She wears a blue dress to Aegon's coronation, and after all the fuss the Hightowers go through to make Aegon appear like a true Targaryen, they completely forget about his wife. She wears the blue of Aemond's sapphire hidden beneath his eye patch at the coronation. Notice that she also wears a necklace of turquoise beads, which could be another talisman from the evil eye. Could Aemond and Helaena have chosen the blue together in honor of her blue dragon, Dreamfire? This could even go back to their childhood, when Aemond had not yet claimed a dragon. Perhaps Helaena took her brother out flying with her on Dreamfire, and there they really solidified their bond. The evil eye is essentially a curse, and it can be cast in envy or unwittingly for simply admiring something beautiful, such as a child. In some cultures, touching the child will dispel any chance of keeping the evil eye on them for showering affection. It can be a reminder to be humble and avoid drawing the attention or gaze of the evil eye onto oneself needlessly. Luke is actually a prime example of this in the Last Supper scene. Jace and Aegon had their minor beef, so Aemond's attention was fixed on Jace, not Luke, at that point. If Luke had minded his business, he may not have drawn the gaze of Aemond's evil eye. He may not have incited the old enmity between them, which lay quiet on Luke's part until that point. Rhaenys is another example of this, with the commotion in the dragon pit during Aegon's coronation. She draws the attention of Aemond, who steps forth as if to challenge Meleys herself, and his one eye lands right on his aunt and her dragon. Book readers know that Aemond will see his vengeance through on Rhaenys for drawing his evil eye upon her, though I wouldn't have changed a thing. So we can see this evil gaze is definitely something Aemond is attributed with. His piercing glance is something to fear and avoid, lest you incur the wrath of Aemond One-Eye. There are many examples in the books and show of Aemond being linked to searching for something, looking at something, seeing this or saw that. So his evil eye is ever searching. Even after Viserys' death, he searches for Aegon in all the low places, but he also tells Criston Cole that if they were to come looking for him, he would be found. Aemond wants to be king, but still cherishes his family and protects them. He has watched his family make foolish decisions all his life, but one thing he never believed was that Rhaenyra would be on the Iron Throne. He watches, but he doesn't set his eye upon his own family, despite gaining the nickname of Aemond the Kinslayer. Even as a child, he knew Aegon and Helena would rule, and told his brother as much.
She's your future queen.
So when the time comes, Aemond has been ready for this since childhood, though Aegon has not. Aemond heads to Storm's End to make a marriage alliance with one of Lord Baratheon's daughters and gain them to the green side. He beats Lucerys there and has the better offer. When Lucerys arrives on his much smaller dragon, Arax, the battle is already over before it's begun. Aemond challenges Lucerys, seeking an eye for an eye, and he would make a gift of it to his mother. When Luke refuses, Aemond goes at him with his knife, but Lord Boros sends Luke out into the storm to leave. But as we all know now, Aemond follows him out upon Vhagar, and though it may have not been his original intention, the evil eye worked its magic. Aemond searches through the rain and thunder and lightning for his nephew, and finally it was Vhagar who found the much younger and smaller dragon high above the clouds. She smashed into Lucerys and Arax, and that was the end of them. Aemond is shocked. Aemond lost control of his dragon, but was she still following his intention? Perhaps Aemond is unaware of his own power, but Vhagar may sense his deep vengeance and act upon it. We will see many furious acts done by Aemond and Vhagar in the future, so it creates a whole new question. Do dragons feel remorse or a drive for vengeance? Does Vhagar feel the guilt that Aemond clearly feels at the end of episode 10? So I want to talk a bit more about the Hamsa, which protects against the evil eye. This is a very common amulet, shaped as a palm, with an eye in the center. It is also called the Hand of Fatima, and is associated with the number 5, like the 5 fingers of the hand. The open right hand is a symbol of blessings, power, and strength. This is believed to be a powerful deflector of the evil eye. Interestingly, in episode 10, we saw something else very significant. Daemon sings a low song to an old dragon in the caves of Dragonmont. Vermithor, the dragon of old King Jaehaerys, sleeps in the darkness until Daemon lulls him awake. His song is a war cry for their coming battles, and Daemon is attempting to bond with Vermithor, which is something different from any other dragon rider in the world. If you look closely into Vermithor's eye, you can see the reflection of Daemon and his technique to claim the old dragon. He raises a hand to the dragon, showing his palm and 5 fingers to Vermithor. I believe this is a nod to the protective Hamsa, in contrast to Aemond's evil eye, which manifests its mission in the very next scene. While the hints towards Aemond's evil eye are much more obvious, Daemon's hidden Hamsa of defense in the darkness of Vermithor's cavern is the secret weapon against Aemond's loud and massive dragon power. It adds another new element to the statement of an eye for an eye and a son for a son. If you subscribe to the idea that Helena's children are actually fathered by Aemond, we can already see the added layer of revenge in the future scenes of blood and cheese. One vengeful act after another ultimately culminates in Aemond raining fire and blood over the Riverlands and razing several holdings to the ground. It explains Aemond's added level of vengeance if the children were his, an eye for an eye and a son for a son. Helena and Aemond are definitely linked and have been since childhood. It is believed that Helena saw through Dreamfire's eyes when Aemond snuck into the dragon pit as a child. She predicts he must close an eye before he can claim a dragon. When Viserys dies, Aemond checks on Helena first and foremost. During Aegon's coronation, he protects Helena above all else, and she wears Aemond's color, blue, before the masses of King's Landing. So later, when Aemond faces Daemon over the God's Eye and both rogues are lost, also happens to be the same night that Helena throws herself from her window onto the spikes below. We have to wonder if Helena could somehow see the death of Aemond. It's dark, but we know that Helena has the sight, and Aemond has the evil eye. Another thing linking Aemond and Helena together. Aemond and Daemon really embody the eye for an eye statement. By repelling the evil eye with apotropaic magic, they live another day, but the lords and the small folk suffer for it. While Daemon seeks out Aemond and Vhagar specifically to exact his retribution, Aemond torches the Riverlands, burning his vengeance away with several castles and holdings. His eye is set upon his uncle in the end, but he and Vhagar will make the world burn with him. This is not Vhagar's first trip around the block, and we already know that Aemond himself is a loose cannon who does not always have control over his dragon. It sounds like a very dangerous combination, an uncontrolled evil eye, and a massive senile dragon torching the Riverlands at will. Of course, there is the lingering mystery of if there is any connection between Aemond's sapphire eye and the icy blue eyes of the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. To that I say, no, I don't believe so, because in the end, Aemond's body is found, although I cannot say if his sapphire was. I do believe there is some portal energy at the God's Eye, and Aemond's death may be a sacrifice to access it. I think we are seeing the future of the Song of Ice and Fire on a smaller scale in their battle, but still just as tragic on a different level. One last nerdy part of all of this is if you break down Aemond's name, the root mund is tied to the Gaelic mund, which means hand. You can also find some really interesting ideas related to the Latin word mundi, such as the phrases contra mundi, which is against the world, anima mundi, which is a vital force or principle conceived of as permeating the world, or even axis mundi, which is the line running through the center of the world, connecting the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. All of these phrases really seem to fit with Aemond's personality, and it seems as though this is another character that George R.R. Martin has put a lot of thought into creating their name and personalities by using root words and worldly symbolism for this character to embody. Daemon is the Greek word for one who straddles the lines between human and God, much different than demon, which is a modern evolution of the word. If anyone embodies the Targaryens being closer to gods than men, it is Aemond Targaryen. Clearly, there's a connection between Daemon and Aemond's names, linking these two in life and death. But what do you all think? Do you notice the many attributes of the evil eye reflected through Aemond One Eye? Do you think this explains his association with the color blue and why he may have chosen the sapphire? I personally don't think it was a fashion-based choice, but a fun clue from George R.R. Martin on how Aemond truly operates. It's best to avoid his gaze and not incite the wrath of Aemond's one eye, lest you learn the way Lucerys did. Aemond may be the evil eye, but Vhagar is his weapon of mass destruction. Daemon knows his target, and it is the source of Aemond's power. An eye and another eye. Thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell for all the latest videos on House of the Dragon and much more. And if you want to help support the channel, consider joining my channel memberships by clicking the join button below or by joining my Patreon for exclusive benefits. I appreciate all of my new subscribers, and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions in the comments below. We'll see you all in the next one.